This is our land. This is our home. Everybody's just a visitor.
The Jews belong to this land. This land belongs to the Jews.
You're a guest here.
It's our land. It's not your land. It's been our land for 3,500 years.
It is time that Canada realizes that they are on stolen land. And it's time that Canada gives it back.
And you're a guest here. Without us, you'd be homeless.
We as Jews are embarrassed what's happening there in the state of Israel, in the Jewish name. And what's your message to the people of Palestine? They shouldn't give up the struggle. They should continue to fight and not give up the struggle against the state of Israel, because by the end, Palestine will be free, because this is truth, will succeed by the end. What's your message to the people of Palestine?
They should know. We feel very shame what's going on there, especially they're doing everything in our name, in the name of Jews, in the name of the Torah, in the name of God. It's so shameful. We are with you. You have to know. The Zionists are strong. We are weak. But God is on our side. At the end of the day, the Palestinian flag will be on all Palestine, from the river to the sea.
There's no more niceness, no more diplomacy, no more nice words. That's done now. You know, it's time for people to quit saying, well, I'm half, I'm 3/4, I'm this, I'm that. That's your business. I don't care. What I care about is First Nation people.
Consider this idea of tracing our family trees back through our mothers or through our fathers, which was this idea of mitochondrial Eve, Y chromosome Adam. Right? Our most recent ancestor tracing back through our mothers or fathers was about 200,000 years ago. But if you take that restriction away, we're just tracing our family trees back normally, then yes, about 500 or 3,000 years ago, somewhere there, is our most recent common ancestor of the whole world.
So if I went back 7,000 years in a time machine, every single person on the planet either leads to a dead end and has no living ancestors, or is related to me.
Exactly right. In fact, the paper that they published in Nature, it's a maths paper, but then they ended it in this lovely way. There's a lovely sentiment at the end of the paper, which I'm just going to read, if you don't mind. No matter the languages we speak or the colours of our skin, we share ancestors who planted rice on the banks of the Yangtze, who first domesticated horses on the steppes of the Ukraine, who hunted giant sloths in the forests of North and South America, and who laboured to build the Great Pyramids of Khufu.
We decided to establish a state in 1948. That's 75 years ago. And we said everybody can live here.
What did the first Arab-Israeli war bring? An Egyptian military presence in the Gaza Strip, and Jordan was gifted the West Bank as a token for its loyalty to Britain and the Zionists. Meanwhile, 700,000 Palestinians were driven out of their homeland. And the UN's two-state solution? Well, it never saw the light of day. It's been 70 years. The crisis of this catastrophe continues.
So how much land and where would that land be when you say it should be given back?
All of this land.
So the whole country?
The whole country.
Colonialism or oppression becomes successful when the oppressed become the oppressors. And certainly that, to a degree, that happens on reserves when after the introduction of the elective system, elected people in some cases become the oppressors, because they have all this influx of federal government money, and they use it. At one time, they were told, you don't have to report this to your own constituency. This is between you and I. And that conspiracy is developed.
They reconstructed history and said that is a complete perversion of history. There has been a complete fabrication of history. They recreate ancient history. They recreate modern history. So as far as reinventing ancient history, and they fabricate a history where basically erased history and recreated a fake history. The attempt to erase the Bible and to erase the history after the Bible.
And then what about people like myself? So I'm Black and Indigenous. So where do they fall?
I'm not worried about you. I'm sorry.
So if I'm part Indigenous, you're not talking about me.
That's your business.
Okay.
I'm talking about our First Nation people. I'm talking about the original people of this land.
Based on the Palestinians who want to destroy us, who support terrorism, who are anti-democratic, who are or basically neo-colonials, because they're really the colonials.
Some other communities have have issues with water unfit to drink. The government gives them a few $100,000 here. Years later, they come back and say, "Well, we hired some shady contractors, and they didn't do the work right." The government says, "Well, if we gave you the money, I mean, it's your fault." I mean, like, what's going on? It's just ridiculous.
I think it's a lot of just corruption.
Yes.
Infrastructural change.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of, what's in it for me. Our leaders some of them have forgotten why they're there and who they're there for. It's always based on power and money and influence and status.
It's the biggest lie of the big lies that have permeated the 20th century and the 21st century, is to say that the Arabs were here before, that is, the Palestinians were here before the Jews, when we were here for thousands of years, that we are the colonials, when in fact it was the Arabs who were the colonials who dispossessed the original natives, and that is the Jews.
Would land back mean putting non-native people on boats back to their countries of origin? No. What we should be imagining is what Canada could look like if we started returning so-called crown lands back to First Nations. Who would you rather control these enormous areas? Corporations who only see in the land dollar signs over the next financial quarter? Or First Nations who've been taking care of the lands for generations? Instead of getting a permit from the government to destroy the land, companies would need a permit from our nations to responsibly use the land. As the rightful caretakers of the lands, First Nations could insist on sustainable logging, ecotourism, and responsible development. In place of dams, mines, and pipelines, lands returned to First Nations could host solar and wind farms, helping power a new post-carbon economy. If First Nation lands were still used for sustainable and responsible resource extraction, then First Nations would be the ones to decide how and where and who benefits.
For our side, firstly, from the Indian side, we need to understand who the enemy is, and our common enemy is the federal government.
Thousands of years ago, there was a stone cast into the pond. The ripples from that stone are finally coming to their end. We are now casting new stones into the pond. It seems we're seeing the end of the story in Jerusalem and the beginning of that same story here in Canada. What can we do to avoid the same outcome? All the great teachers have taught us to stop dividing each other and come together. Somehow we still need to hear that same message to this day. We are all breaking free from the crown, from the mental enslavement. Those who are the chosen and the elect by God will lead the new world. In the Hopi prophecy, they are known as the Rainbow Warriors. In the Bible, they are called the 144,000 Jews. In the Bible, they are called all Jews. However, if you look at the 10 lost tribes of Jews that left Israel in 722 BC, that's 2,745 years ago, as the Mass shows earlier in the video.
About 500 or 3,000 years ago, somewhere there, is our most recent common ancestor of the whole world.
You could be one of God's elect and you don't know it yet. The elect rulers are from all races, backgrounds, and classes. So no, you don't need to be Jew to be one of the 144,000. And no, you don't need to be native to be one of the Rainbow Warriors. This third spiritual war is in our hearts and in our minds. We must come together with truth and justice. We will be judged upon our fruit, not the color of our skin or the religions we follow. The math backs it up. We are all family in blood. However, Jesus says his family is those who do the will of God. And I will always follow Yahshua in that sentiment. Lady Justice wears a blindfold. Maybe if we want that same just world, we must wear that blindfold also. Much love and God bless.
No matter the languages we speak or the colours of our skin, we share ancestors who planted rice on the banks of the Yangtze, who first domesticated horses on the steppes of the Ukraine, who hunted giant sloths in the forests of North and South America, and who laboured to build the Great Pyramids of Khufu.